Well, the last video we did on Namibia has had over 24,000 views, and that number's growing every day. So we thought we'd follow up, and today we're going to have a look at the companies who've been involved in exploration in Namibia. So, who are the explorers in Namibia? So you can see from this map, adapted from a NAMCOR map dated September 2022. If there is something more recent, I'm expecting my friends at NAMCOR will inform us and send us the latest information. You can see we're going to be going through and walking around and having a look at some of these licenses in a little more detail. So we're going to start with Shell. We've done a number of videos on the channel on the Shell acreage before, but here it is located at the southern end of the Namibia offshore, and it abuts South Africa. What you can see here on the map, the Shell block is outlined here in red, and we can see the location of the 3 wells that have been discovered. The first was Graph 1, the first sort of significant discovery offshore Namibia, back in January 2022, where it found a significant column of light oil in very deep water in the Upper Cretaceous. That was followed up by Lerona, which was in part an appraisal of Graph, but also tested a hydrocarbon play at multiple levels, so kind of opening up some other opportunities in the region. More recently, in January 2023, a light oil discovery was announced at the Yonka well. That's a deeper well, as you can see, over 6,000 meters to total depth, and is a different play to the Graph and Venus. Now, we understand there may be as many as 10 additional wells that are going to be drilled in this block, and we've kind of been highlighting this Cullinan feature. Now, its name may change, but this looks to be a very significant feature here, right on the north end of the block, and this is the Galp block to the north we'll look at in a second. Now, Shell got into this block by buying the interests of Signet Petroleum, and they were involved in acreage to the south into South Africa. So next we're going to have a look at Total Energies, and probably it's this block that's really drawing a huge amount of attention. We've covered several videos on the block, and if we look at this map here, we can see here's the Venus discovery. Now, Venus was drilled back in February 2022. It was announced about 2 weeks after Shell's Graph discovery. Talk at the time was that it could be up to 3 billion barrels, but since then numbers have been speculated to be several times that sort of volume. Again, it's a Cretaceous reservoir, and I say look at some of the other videos we've done to actually explain some of the technical understanding of those discoveries. So the Venus 1A is currently drilling with the Tungsten Explorer, and after that the Nara 1 well is going to be drilled. Here's the Nara 1 well. So here's Venus 1, Venus 1A, Nara 1. We see this feature here. There are other features on different maps, probably lots of potential for follow-up exploration targets in the region. So they're going to be busy throughout all of 2023. And as we get updates, we'll come out with new videos. Next up, we're moving slightly north, and we're going to look at the Galp block. Now, Galp is a Portuguese public company, and here is the block. You can see that this is the Venus feature here. Here's Graph. So between these oil discoveries down here and this gas discovery up at Kudu, we're actually looking at the Galp block. And these are some of the leads and prospects as we understand them to be, or were in some recent time. Now, for the Galp block, they operate with 80% with partners NAMCOR and Custos. The entire block is over 20,000 square kilometers, so it's a huge block. And water depth varies here from quite shallow in the east at about 180 meters, or around about 500, 600 feet, all the way to 2,500 meters, which is very, very deep water on the western edge. The Odfjell's Hercules semi-sub drilling rig is still in Norway at the time of recording this, but it will be mobilizing down to Namibia, and it's expected that the drilling will start in this block in late 2023. So watch this block. It'll be very exciting. Now, Pan Continental's block, PEL 87, highlighted here in the map on the left, you can see that it's one we've featured again and we've talked about in previous videos, but Pan Continental operate with 75% Custos, which is an affiliate of Sintana. I'm not quite sure what that means, and Namcor are partners. Now, Woodside have taken an option to farm in to gain up to 56% equity in this block. It's a large area, 11,000 square kilometers, and water depth variable, again, deepening over to the west. Now, we've talked about this Saturn superfan before, and this has probably evolved and changed. There's certainly ongoing seismic, which has been acquired by PGS. Over half the block has been shot with 3D seismic, and the acquisition is completed, and we're anticipating that there should be a fast-track volume available for interpretation by August 2023. From that should follow on the drilling activity. Now, you can see on the seismic line here, the Moosehead 1 well didn't really find any significant reservoirs in this interval, but it did find early mature source rock, and on this section you can see the source rock's actually getting deeper, so potentially it's going to get mature and be generating oil and gas. And then this feature here, this thickening, this hopefully is going to be a pile of sand in the Saturn superfan. That was not penetrated. It pinched out before it got up to this Moosehead 1 well. So there's no shortage of thick shales to form the top seal. I don't know that we necessarily need a bottom seal to this particular play, but it really does look very, very interesting. So it will change with mapping on the new data, but very exciting block. Moving further north again, and this time into the Walvis Basin, we'll look at PEL 37. Now, this license, we understand, expired on the 28th of March 2023. Tullow had withdrawn from this block back in March 2021, and we understand that there was a difference of technical assessment of the potential of this block. You can see on the right here two maps. Probably you're not going to be able to find these very easily, if at all, on the internet today, but we've got them in Trove database, and you can see various leads and plays that have been identified. Now, one well was drilled on this block, and it was Tullow back in 2018 drilled the Cormorant 1, which was a dry hole. But, you know, the numerous leads in here, and at various times, it was considered that it was maybe up to 8.7 billion barrels of prospective resource. Now, on a risk basis, that's still over some 400 million barrels of oil in this block. Now, we understand that the block has now been relinquished, but it's likely that Pan Continental will reapply for a longer-term license. Now, this isn't the end of the video, but before this yellow bar gets to the other side, we'll be moving on to the next company in Namibia. We want to just say there's a lot more in Trove than we show in these videos, and we don't just cover Namibia, we cover the entire globe. Get in touch, there's the contact details. Now, if we've missed something, or if you'd like some information included in our follow-up videos, please just get in touch, send us the material, and we'll add it. It'll be out on our next video. Thanks very much. Back to the players. So Morrell and Prom, a lot further north, as you can see from this block here, they've got two blocks highlighted here. And we know that they've got a program that is going to be kicking off shortly. In this block here to the north, PEL 44, they've got the Aurora 1 and the Serenade 1 prospects, which we anticipate are going to be the first to be drilled. Now, these are fairly large features. These are prospective resources, so hasn't yet been found, may not prove to be there, but certainly look very interesting plays, basin floor fans and shelf edge clastics stroke carbonate plays. There's also some talk of a Harmony 1 well, which actually overlies the Aurora prospect, so that a single well could end up testing a potential resource size of some 650 million barrels. 2 firm commitment wells on this block, but potential for up to 5 wells in this program. Now, I think at this stage there aren't any identified drilling targets in PEL 45, but you know that may change in the coming months. So we expect that the first well will be drilled in Q4 2023, and we think the first well is going to be Aurora. And there's the partnership, Morrell and Prom, French company, Namcor, Livingston and Frontier make up the partners in that block. So if we now look at Eco Atlantic, you can see that we've highlighted the 3 areas that Eco Atlantic are involved in. And on this map here, we can see that they give the licenses, rather than using the PEL numbers, they're using different names for these licenses. Eco Atlantic have 85% working interest in each of these, and they carry the local company and also Namcor with a 10% interest. So I think the licenses expire in 2031, so lots of time to really kind of work these prospects up. To date, 20 prospects and leads have been identified, and they talk of there being over 7.8 billion barrels of prospective resource amongst them. Now, this is my favourite block up here in the north, but Marty's wife Sharon, she prefers this block down here in the south. In the north, in the Walvis Basin, Global Petroleum operate this block, and you can see PEL 94. The map on the right shows the two major prospects here, the Welwitschia Deep and also the Marula prospect. We have featured these in previous videos. There's 7 other leads. In total, prospective resources assessed to be about 3.5 billion barrels, so significantly very, very large potential opportunities here. Now, Welwitschia 1A was drilled by Repsol back in 2014, and at that time, they did look to actually drill this Welwitschia Deep opportunity, but having spent about $100 million to drill that well, it was looking that it was going to take another $40 million to go deeper into the section. So the decision was taken not to do that at that time. So this target still remains, and possibly it could be drilled in a more optimal location, because obviously the well here highlighted on this map is actually just right on the periphery of the prospect. So it could be drilled in shallower waters, perhaps significantly up dip. The targets for the wells in this region, well, they're basically tertiary Paleocene and Cretaceous Maastrichtian and Campanian sands. And in the Walvis Basin, we've got Tower Resources, and this is their block here, PEL 96. And here's a map showing the two major prospects that have been identified here, Alpha and Gamma. Now, they're situated on a sort of regional structural high. It's on the landward crest of the Walvis Ridge. Now, what's interesting here is you have the Namib Basin to the north, this Dolphin Graben here. Now, 2 wells, one dry hole and one with some oil shows, but you can see they weren't drilled on a structure at this particular level. These are quite old wells. And now you can see that this feature here has got a nose, a structural nose that's pointing out into the Graben. And likewise, Alpha has one that's pointing out into the Namib Basin. So if there are source kitchens here, there's a preferential migration path into the Alpha and from the Dolphin Graben into the Gamma. And that's notwithstanding the outboard potential kitchens in the Walvis Ridge itself. Combination of these blocks, 3 blocks together, is some 23,000 plus square kilometers, and it's 80% operated by Tower. Now, there are 2 prospects and 10 leads, and they're talking about the next step being a new seismic being shot over this block. Right at the very northern limits of the Namibian offshore, we can see this acreage here, which is, it's ExxonMobil, it's Namib Basin, and it's PELs 86, 89 and 95. Now, this is a huge area. Combined, these contiguous blocks amount to some 28,000 square kilometers. ExxonMobil farmed in 2019, and Namcor had identified prospects in these inset maps that are shown here for PEL 86 and 89. We don't have the equivalent information for PEL 95. Now, ExxonMobil also have a 40% interest in PEL 82 further to the south. This kind of interest has come, ExxonMobil also have acreage just across to the north into Angola. They've got a huge acreage position between Namibia and Angola. So lots of exploration going on in this region, and another good address. And now we move onshore, and here we can see 2 operators, Recon Africa and Monitor Exploration. We won't cover that today, but we are making a video on that, and it should be ready in the next few weeks. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you actually get notified when that video comes out. Who else is involved? Well, it wouldn't be right to not mention Impact. It was Impact who actually worked up these blocks which delivered the Venus discovery, and they sort of farmed out to a number of companies, again covered in previous videos on our channel. A great piece of exploration work there by Phil Birch and the team at Impact. And here, Custos, now, they're an affiliate of Sintana Energy, have built up quite a significant acreage position in some interesting parts. I think this is Lüderitz Basin and within the Orange Basin down here to the south. And who else? Well, in PEL 90, Chevron have recently farmed in. So this is a block with partners Harmattan, Trago, and Namcor. They basically shot 3D seismic over the block, and we look forward to hearing what the plans are for drilling in that region soon. There are lots of leads and prospects identified throughout the region, and you can see its location. It's just to the north of the Venus, so there is potential that this play could continue up to the north, both within this block here and into the Pancontinental block. Qatar Energy, and quick shout out to Simon Hendry, got a really fantastic position across Namibia here, and also involved to the south in South Africa in this block here. So really very well exposed in this very prolific area. So they're involved in both Venus and Graph. So doing very, very well. In fact, as a company, this is the sort of worldwide acreage map, and we've kind of collated this from Mapstand, and you can see they're in Newfoundland, Mexico, Campos Santos region, offshore Argentina, Malvinas Falklands region here, Northwest Africa, recently got into some acreage over there, in the Eastern Med, the Gulf of Mexico, offshore Oman, and this is the sort of the Brulpadda area, the Utanika Basin in South Africa, as well as the Orange Basin through South Africa and into Namibia, a couple of other regions I haven't mentioned. These wells and these areas, they take deep pockets, and Qatar Energy have built up a very exciting exploration portfolio worldwide. So in summary, what can we say? Well, there is a huge prospective resource being quoted. When you add these all up together, it's billions upon billions of barrels of potential. But for those who are not too familiar with oil and gas exploration, a prospective resource, it hasn't yet been drilled, it hasn't yet been found. So it's kind of the potential that might be realized. So it's certainly got nothing to do with produced oil, that's for sure. So can the success that we've seen in the Orange Basin, in the wells that have been drilled by Shell and Total Energies, will it be replicated further to the north? Well, time will tell. There's a lot of ongoing appraisal of discoveries, and there is a fast-moving and constantly changing license landscape. And is there a fear of missing out? A lot of companies would like to get involved and probably are knocking on the door to try and get involved. There's lots more in the Trove database. Get in touch and make sure you don't miss out on all the activity and the exciting things that are happening in offshore Namibia. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when we come out with a new release. There's our contact details. Look forward to seeing you back on our video before too long. Bye for now.